hmm So past week, the owners and the players, they had a deadline for Monday at midnight, which was actually pushed back to Tuesday at 5 p.m. If they were able to reach a deal by Tuesday at 5 p.m., opening day would not have been canceled. But obviously, as everyone knows, they were not able to. Talks went on for a while. There was reports that they were making some progress. There was about 13 or so meetings, went on for the whole day. At the end of the day, just the owners, it gets me mad. Like the owners are just really stubborn. For years, everyone knows the owner's revenue goes up every single year. But when you look at this competitive balance tax, luxury tax, there's no correlation between the two. So everyone knows how the arbitration, the minimum salary numbers, they're just lower than what they should be. And the players, they've given in the past, but right now they're just not ready to give in. And that's why we don't have a deal.
Yeah, the players, Andrew, it's hard for me, and we've talked about this, but it's hard for me to have sympathy for both sides when you have two parties that are just bargaining on these astronomical numbers. But we also have to take into consideration the type of revenue that the league and the industry brings in. That's why these numbers are so high, but it's so hard to fathom that these are actual negotiable numbers. It's baffling, and it's frustrating. The fact that we had until they had from December 2nd until February 28th, and the league decided that it would be a good time to start meeting every single day a week before this deadline. That's just amazing. Andrew, that's like writing a paper the night it's due. When you make a deadline and you decide, oh, we're just going to ramp up discussions the night that we have to make a deal. I've been there, wrote papers the night before.
Same.
Sometimes it works out for me, sometimes it doesn't. But in this case, they're not writing a paper. They're trying to salvage an industry. And then another little anecdote you could add to the student life is that you get so far in your progress, and then you ask for an extension. Okay, so we'll move the date to March 1st and make the deadline 5 p.m. But then they completely backtracked on what they were gonna propose, and it's just so aggravating and it's irritating. I just can't stand it, Andrew. I can't stand it anymore.
Yeah, what gets me really mad was not that they waited for the last week to actually get the meetings done. It's that, so we had the lockout. The CBA expired December 1st. December 2nd, they started the lockout. They didn't talk for 43 days.
Yeah, they took a nice long holiday break.
Imagine if they had 43 extra days right now to negotiate. They probably, well, I can't say there would have been no games canceled, but it would be helpful at this point if we had 43 more days where there was just no communication whatsoever, which is pretty crazy when we're talking about one of the biggest sports in the world. Or
it's America's national pastime.
Yeah,
it's probably
the second or third most popular sport in the US, and we're trying to start up a season and they just seemingly didn't care for over a month.
Yeah. You bring up those 43 days, it really makes you wonder where the priorities of the league and the owners are at. Why did that take so long? This is probably your biggest asset. Now, that's just an assumption. I bet a lot of these owners have much more lucrative assets than Major League Baseball, but they rake in so much money. 43 days, like where's your head at? You're lying to your fans, saying that this is your number one priority, to get games going, to get the players back on the field. You're just lying at this point. It's a blatant lie. If that was actually on the top of your list, you wouldn't have taken a 43-day break. That wouldn't have happened. So shame on the owners. I'm a little frustrated at the players, but I have a little more sympathy for them because they're fighting for what they love, and they're fighting for what they think they deserve, because they did get a little gypped in the last one, and they kind of just agreed so there wouldn't be a lockout or this kind of situation that we're having now, but it's gone too far. It's definitely gone too far.
Yeah, I agree. And just to mention we haven't really touched on many of the issues. One of the biggest ones has been this competitive balance tax. They were very far off. Just to read off some of the MLB proposals, they're up. It was only up a little bit. From right now, it's 210. They went up to 214 million for 2022, 215, 216, and then as high as 222 million in 2026. And then the Player Association, which is far off from that, 245 million at 2022, and then it was as high as 273. So about 50 million off in 4 years from now. So they're just, that seems like it could take a while. That could be the biggest holdup. That and it seemed like expanded playoffs was going to be an issue, but they have at least agreed to that. So that's a sign of good things, but I'll give it maybe minimum 2 weeks before this thing is over with and we have a CBA and we get spring training started.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there on that, Andrew. I mean, I hope it's 2 weeks. I hope it doesn't seep into May, because there will be some serious problems. You're already losing fans to begin with. The longer that you take to do this, the more fans you're gonna lose. It's an ugly situation. It's not fun. It's Rob Manfred is not fun, so it fits his category and his character there. But and practicing his golf swing. What was that? What was that? Like, that is not what you should be doing. And by the way, Rob, you should use a little more torque on the torso, up the upper torso here, because you probably launch some drives, maybe 250 after that. But that should not be your priority. I digress. I'm just pointing it out. But the expanded playoffs, they were at, what was it, 14 teams and 12 teams? Yeah, 14 teams. I'm sorry, it's just too much. They're going to play over 100 games. It was fine for 60 games. Made it a lot more exciting, actually.
16 actually.
But so there you go, even more teams. That's right. Yeah, it was 16. But I don't think you can reward almost half of the league for a season that isn't going to be 60 games. It's going to be more than that. I like the 12 format. I think you can bump it up a little bit. That it kind of looks like what they were doing in the 90s with the wild card. It just gives more teams an opportunity to get in, and then as we know, you get into the playoffs, it's kind of a crapshoot from there. It just makes it more competitive. It gets teams more involved. I don't mind expanded playoffs, but don't give almost half the league a ticket into that, because it's a very special thing.
Yeah, no, I think for the enjoyment of sport, I think the less teams in the playoffs, 10 is perfect. I love the 10 format.
I like the format they have now.
We have to go up to 12, it's fine. If anyone's confused about why the owners are so pushing for more teams, it's because more playoff teams reach more TV deals, more playoff games, and they make a lot of money, obviously, because playoff games,
Of course.
ratings much higher, ticket sales much higher. But the players, they know that if there's less playoff teams, owners will be more incentivized to spend more, which will keep the more teams over luxury tax, and it just keeps the league more competitive. Less playoff teams makes the 162 game grind just not as fun.
And that touches on the tanking incident or scenario that they've been trying to solve throughout these talks. The more teams you have, the less likely you're going to have these tanking problems. You're not going to have the Orioles lose 110 plus games 4 years in a row, because now there's more of an incentive to actually make the playoffs, because there's more opportunities. That is, in my opinion, that's a big deal, because some of these teams, like I brought up the Orioles, they've been bad, and they haven't just been bad, they've been horrendous for an extended period of time. Like, you could have a season where you're going to lose 100 plus games, maybe even 110 plus games, but in multiple years where you're losing over 100 games, unacceptable. Just doesn't show any competitiveness, doesn't show any drive to win. So you bring in more teams, it gives teams more of an incentive to try.
Yeah, well, and it's good you mentioned that, because they're actually discussing a draft lottery, which would have the top 6-7 teams, I think, the worst teams in the league, go through a lottery similar to what the NBA, NHL does for the draft, just so it's not you get the worst record, you automatically get the first pick.
I'm a fan of lotteries. Well, we'll see. I'll probably be a fan of it for baseball, because my team probably won't get gypped by the lottery. But I know for basketball, my New York Knicks lost out on Zion Williamson because they got into a really bad draft lottery situation. But I think lotteries do make it more interesting. So I wouldn't be opposed to that. And I also kind of like the idea of the international draft, besides just signing these players from wherever they come from. Put them in a pool and see how it goes from there. I think they could get really creative with that. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, the international draft is definitely interesting, but it's also like it's a very strategic part of baseball, how you can trade for international signing bonus money in trades. I feel like that's a really interesting thing. How I kind of want to keep
It
that.
is.
There's some teams who,
I wouldn't be opposed to either adopting an international draft or keeping what they have, because I think it's fine now. I just think an international draft would just spice it up a little bit.
yeah, like, well, the thing with baseball is just there's already enough draft. We have the Rule 5 draft, we have the MLB,
Yeah.
we have probably one more I'm forgetting about, but I don't think we need an international draft.
No, yeah, it's definitely not a need. And like I said, it would just really spice things up. But we'll
Yeah.
see. We'll see, man. There's a lot of things that they got to go over, and they really got to get their stuff together. They really do.
Hopefully, next few weeks, get this stuff wrapped up, get some baseball.
And let's play ball.
Yeah.
Let's
Hopefully.
play ball.
We've
Let's
had
go.
shortened 2020 season. Don't really want to miss more than 20 games max this year. Just
Yeah, the industry can't afford it. You're gonna turn off what you're marketing the most, and that is the younger generation. And by not playing, the younger generation is not going to be exposed to baseball, and they should be. So play these games, get this deal done. Let's go.
Of course.
All right, so now we're going to switch